Part 20. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 194. No. Explode for me, ah. Sensing the situation around him, UN Demon Lord shouted angrily, and the suppressed infinite vitality began to explode one after another. Finally, at the end, a corner of the humane legal net was torn open. Without the slightest hesitation, all the remaining vitality escaped in an instant, following the rules of vitality that spanned the ancient world. Huh! Let him escape. The leader of the human race snorted coldly, slightly dissatisfied. Alas! After all, he is the top expert in the true immortal realm. He can suppress the core of its rules and enable the human race to master a new rule again. This is already very good. A faint sigh was heard, and a figure like a ghost appeared silently beside the leader of the human race. I know this, I'm just a little unwilling to do so. Looking at the core of rules that was constantly wandering and struggling, the leader of the human race also sighed. If my ancestor in the true immortal realm of the human race takes action, it is possible to keep it completely. Even if it cannot be wiped out, it can be sealed for countless years. It's a pity that now is not the time, but soon too. Two more figures appeared silently, standing beside the leader of the human race. These two new people appeared, one of them glowed with golden light and had a noble temperament, the other of them had a deep aura, and they were like a world apart. Of these two people, one is following the path of the gods, and the other is following the path of the earthly immortals. The person who appeared first followed the path of ghosts and immortals. All of them have successfully merged with the Tao, and they are all existences that can truly rival the innate divine and demonic gods. It was the combined efforts of everyone that completely suppressed the rules of heaven and earth here before, and ushered in the arrival of the humane law. It can also be said that everyone has already started the layout very early. At the same time, it is also an attempt by the human race to see if they can compete or even suppress the existence of the true immortal realm with only the cultivation of the Hedeo realm, combined with the human race's humane legal network. Obviously, the outcome of the matter can be described as mixed, as even with only the cultivation of the Hedeo realm and the human Deo Dharma network, it is still enough to barely compete with the true immortal realm. However, because they did not master the rules of true immortals, they could not truly suppress them. By containing the existence of true immortals, they could only protect themselves at most. Moreover, for this layout and testing, everyone also made a lot of arrangements in advance, which was very wasteful of manpower and material resources. The man who followed the path of the earth immortal first opened up a cave heaven-blessed land here, covering the land boundary of thousands of miles in radius. The human race who followed the path of gods condensed the rules of heaven and earth here and became a god here, controlling the rules of heaven and earth for hundreds of millions of miles of mountains and rivers. Both of these will consume a lot of time and resources. It is not that easy to open up a cave, condense the rules of heaven and earth, and make it grow. In particular, after opening up the cave and condensing the rules of heaven and earth, it is impossible to move. If you want to change places, you will have to fall into the realm again, spend a huge price again, and start over. Although compared to competing against a true immortal and even gaining a core of rules, it is already very cost-effective. However, that also means that he has completely offended a true immortal, and he is immortal and almost impossible to restrain. On the other hand, the human race who mastered the way of ghosts and immortals did not need to spend more resources. After all, he only needs to constantly interfere with and influence UN Demon Lord's soul and will during the battle. But no matter what, even the beings under the realm of true immortals of the human race still have trump cards to compete with true immortals. Even, with the cooperation of everyone, the rules controlled by UN Demon Lord were completely suppressed, forcing him to break away from the rules. Afterwards, everyone even led the humane legal net to come, forcing the UN Demon Lord to escape directly. Seeing the core of rules that was constantly wandering and struggling under the cover of the humane legal net, the leader of the human race no longer thought about anything else. He quickly pulled out a few magic tricks and borrowed the power of the humane law network to send it to Xuanhuan Mountain, the core ancestral land of the human race. The true immortal ancestors of the human race naturally have many ways to completely suppress them and integrate them into the human race's humane legal network. And the UN Demon Lord, who escaped from the human race's humane legal net, once again escaped from the range of hundreds of millions of miles, and then slowly slowed down. With a slight thought in his heart, he wanted to integrate the rules again. However, drops of glistening sweat began to appear on UN Demon Lord's forehead. Impossible, how is this possible? I'm not dead yet. UN Demon Lord was about to fall into madness because no matter how many times he tried, he could not merge the rules again. He can indeed still sense the core of the rules he controlled before. However, the two just couldn't merge again. It was as if the core of the rules had a new owner, or perhaps after endless time and space, infinite dimensions. And if he cannot integrate with the original core of the rules, how can he possibly integrate with the rules again and become the master of the rules? If he really wants to do this, what is the difference between him and those races that practice his way of vitality? They are just strengthening the rules, just being the master of the rules and the rules in their hearts, and making wedding clothes for others. Human clan. With deep resentment, UN Demon Lord popped out two words from his mouth. At the same time, there was a faint fear deep in UN Demon Lord's heart. Because the power that the human race had shown before could really seal it. If so, it would be better to die. Looking at the direction of the human race again, UN Mojun turned into a stream of light and disappeared in an instant. When UN Mojun appeared again, he had already arrived in the demon clan heaven. UN Meng, who was outside the world, just watched quietly. Watching UN Mojun being calculated and forced to take the initiative to strip off his own rules, watching UN Mojun immediately cause an uproar in the demon clan heaven after returning. And the situation of UN Mojun was also quickly spread, and Haoshan Heavenly Court, Wu Clan God Court, etc. were all extremely shocked. Unexpectedly, those acquired human races actually had the body rules, comparable to their innate gods and demons. More importantly, the human race actually mastered the power to strip off the innate gods and demons and control the rules. So are the rules that the human race has integrated the rules that the human race has stripped, although there has never been any news before. However, if those innate saints and demons who have not achieved the realm of true immortals are really stripped of their own rules, they can be completely killed, and naturally they will not be able to spread the news. Although this is not the case, it is UN Mojun who took the initiative to break away from the rules that he controlled. It's just that UN Mojun did not say so. In his mouth, it was forcibly stripped. And the human race just responded to this indifferently. The human race does not have the power to strip away the rules of the innate saints and demons. This is true. If the innate saints and demons do not take the initiative to break away from the rules anyway, then, the human race can only suppress them at most, and cannot forcibly strip them. Well, Nuwa can do it. This is his authority as a saint, but doing so will consume her merits and luck. However, many innate saints and demons do not believe what the human race says. In particular, when they see that all the true immortals of the human race have stripped away the rules that they control and only master their own Tao fruits. Many acquired human races began to conform to the rules, and even had many rules that did not belong to the innate human race. It was even more certain that the human race should have mastered the power to forcibly strip away the rules. Thus, a war that almost involved all the innate gods, demons, and true immortals of the human race began in the prehistoric world. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 195. This war in the prehistoric world will cause far more damage to the prehistoric world than before. The prehistoric world has indeed been reinforced and suppressed repeatedly by the three realms of heaven, earth, and man. However, it cannot withstand the impact of countless battles between immortals and gods. After all, they are not afraid of death. At worst, they can just resurrect. Therefore, their battles can be described as crazy, completely reckless, and sometimes they even self-destruct. However, in just tens of thousands of years, except for the center of the prehistoric continent, which suppressed the three realms of the prehistoric world and the Buzhu Mountain realm of the infinite world, the entire prehistoric continent had changed beyond recognition. Yuan Meng frowned at this, but he was also a little happy. These people wantonly destroyed the ancient world, which naturally made Yuan Meng extremely dissatisfied. But at the same time, it was also because of this unscrupulous fighting that the progress of these people reached an extremely exaggerated level. The countless years of intensive understanding and practice before, under the stimulation of this battle, have all turned into the qualifications and foundation for everyone to move forward. Slowly, in the endless war, more and more innate gods, demon gods, and human true immortals began to touch higher realms. On a fairy battlefield, brilliance bloomed everywhere, and space cracks appeared, destroying everything around them. Even the infinite dimensions in the depths of endless time and space were affected. One dimension and space collapsed, and the other dimensions turned into chaos. Finally, at a certain moment, a mysterious brilliance bloomed and struck towards a human true immortal. Snort. The human true immortal snorted disdainfully, and there was also brilliance blooming all over his body. He moved his body to dodge the attack. However, boom! A violent explosion flashed past, and the human true immortal was violently blasted away. A ferocious wound appeared between his chest and abdomen. This is. The human true immortal lowered his head slightly, glanced at his own injuries, and then looked at the innate demon opposite him with a look of astonishment. The innate demon god on the opposite side was also stunned, and immediately showed a look of ecstasy, and at the same time, various understandings came to his mind. Ha ha ha! I finally did it! I am the ancestor of time and space. I will go against the flow of time and kill all enemies. After laughing wildly for a while, the ancestor of time and space looked at the human true immortal opposite, and his eyes immediately became sharp. Ha! Watch me kill you! After finishing speaking, the figure of the ancestor of time and space began to become illusory and hazy, as if he was far away from endless time and space. Seeing this situation of the ancestor of time and space, the human race true immortal immediately became vigilant. However, this doesn't do anything. Tisk. The ancestor of time and space only moved slightly, but did not launch any attack. However, the human race's true immortal's body had already appeared again, with a ferocious wound that almost cut it off. But in the human race's mind, at this moment, a memory image suddenly appeared. Just before the ancestor of time and space spoke, a light blade containing the power of time and space suddenly appeared in front of him and struck his body directly. What kind of method are you doing? The human true immortal suppressed his injuries and looked at the time and space ancestor opposite. Hey! Even if I tell you, you won't understand. What's more, do you think I'm stupid? Why should I tell you? Next, just enjoy my attack. The ancestor of time and space waved the blade of time and space in his hand and launched another invisible attack. Tisk. Although the true immortal of the human race had already started to evade quickly and irregularly when the ancestor of time and space spoke. However, a hideous wound still appeared on his body again. Next, no matter how much the true immortal of the human race tried to avoid it, wounds would inevitably appear on his body. This is not a new wound. The later the injury occurs, the earlier it occurs. However, gradually, the human race's true immortal also came to his senses. The time and space ancestor on the opposite side did not attack his present, but his past. Ha ha ha. Did you react? It's already too late. I will go to the distant past, kill your weak moment, and completely erase the traces of your existence. Looking at the expressions of the true immortals of the human race, the ancestor of time and space, who already had more understanding of the way of time and space, laughed wildly again. His figure became more and more hazy, and a looming river emerged. The figure of the time and space ancestor was swimming upstream in the river. Waves were rising, and a picture appeared in it. It was the scene of the true immortal of the human race fighting the time and space ancestor. Looking at those battle scenes, every time the ancestor of time and space was about to fall into a disadvantage, the ancestor of time and space, who was swimming upstream in the river, would wave the blade of time and space in his hand and strike out with an attack. And in the memory of the true immortal of the human race, the memory image will suddenly appear. At a certain moment in the past, when he was about to suppress the ancestor of time and space, an attack suddenly appeared and struck his body. Seeing the situation here, first the nearby innate saints, demon gods, and human true immortals gradually stopped their movements and looked here. Subsequently, more and more people stopped fighting. Anyway, they won't really die. Since something unexpected has happened, they naturally don't mind stopping the battle temporarily and waiting and watching. Looking at the river that becomes clearer as the space-time ancestor goes backwards, everyone frowns and ponders. This is the power of time. This is the long river of space-time. Yes, this should be the long river of space-time. Soon, one by one, the innate sacred beings, demon gods, and human immortals gradually reacted. After all, when condensing their own Deo fruit, they also need to comprehend and analyze the rules of the 3,000 great ways between heaven and earth. And the rules of time are also included in the rules of the 3,000 great ways. So, their understanding of space-time may not be as good as that of the space-time ancestor, but they definitely have some experience and even reached a strong level. Naturally, they can also sense the power of time, and even reverse the flow of time. But they can only do it for those low-level lives. Not to mention the existence of the same realm, as long as they are not too different from each other, they cannot reverse the flow of each other's time. Although the space-time ancestor could do more before, he also couldn't go against the flow of time in the same realm. At most, he could delay, slow down, speed up, etc. Or attack the opponent's past, but that was only the last moment. Now, the space-time ancestor is no longer attacking the last moment, but the distant past. Even the space-time ancestor himself is already going against the flow of the space-time river. At this moment, the space-time ancestor exists in the past, not the present. The space-time ancestor who appears now, and the image of the space-time river, are just the imprint of his existence in the world. At this moment, no matter who, no matter how powerful the attack, will no longer be able to affect the space-time ancestor. At this moment, everyone can only watch the space-time ancestor's actions to see what he wants to do. And the human race's true immortal has stopped his actions, just slightly closed his eyes, and constantly circulated the mysterious skills in his body to speed up the repair of his body injuries. Unfortunately, wounds with the power of time and space kept appearing on his body, making him overwhelmed. Swish. Swish. The figures of the human race's true immortals quickly emerged, and healing spells were constantly cast, quickly healing the injured human race's true immortals. At the same time, they were also staring at the image in the void opposite, watching the actions of the ancestor of time and space. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 196. The space-time ancestor strolled on the long river of space-time, taking one step at a time. Read. Every step, that is endless years. Finally, looking at the image in the long river of space-time below, a powerful cultivator of the Yuanling realm was fighting in the alien army. He. The space-time ancestor smiled, turned back across the endless space-time river, and looked at the human race immortal meaningfully. The next moment, the space-time ancestor suddenly made a move, and an attack containing the power of space-time suddenly sank into the image of the space-time river. Along with the surging waves, the attack had already cut into the cultivator of the Yuanling realm. Without the slightest resistance, the human race cultivator of the Yuanling realm was directly cut off. At the same time, the human race immortal outside the space-time river suddenly flashed, gradually turned into a shadow, and finally dissipated between heaven and earth. And the true immortal rule that spanned the three realms of the prehistoric world suddenly decreased by one. In the minds of the prehistoric beings who knew the true immortal of the human race, apart from the realm of Hedeo and the realm of the true immortal, as well as those innate sacred gods and demon gods, there was no trace of him anymore. It was as if, on the battlefield countless years ago, a brilliant Yuanling realm cultivator was killed by a sudden powerful attack. It made them sigh with emotion at that time. If this cultivator could survive, perhaps there would be another true immortal ancestor in the human race. And everyone who saw all this, whether it was the true immortal of the human race, or the innate sacred gods and demon gods who were hostile to the human race, was completely silent at this moment. Just looking at the long river of time and space flowing slowly in the void, and the ancestor of time and space going upstream in it, his eyes flashed with complex and inexplicable colors. Since the time and space ancestor can kill the human immortal, then naturally, he can also kill them and erase the traces of their existence. Now it depends on what the time and space ancestor will do. Seeing what the time and space ancestor did, Yuanmeng couldn't help but frown slightly. These are the real immortals, each of whom can be called a hero of the time, and will be of great help to the progress of the present prehistoric world. Maybe in the future, these real immortals will be like mortals, and will not be of much help to the prehistoric world. Yuanmeng will not care too much about their fighting and killing each other, or even their complete fall. But now, they are the top combat power in the prehistoric world, and in terms of analyzing rules, they can also be called the top researchers. The fall of each real immortal is a great loss to the prehistoric world and Yuanmeng. And before, the reason why Yuanmeng did not stop the fight between the real immortals. That's because they can't kill each other, but can inspire them to move forward and make them go to the next level. But now, the complete demise of the true immortals is not what Yuanmeng wants. However, Yuanmeng did not intervene directly, because the true immortals of the human race, including those innate humans, all had their eyes flashing, bursts of fierce momentum blooming, staring at the long river of time and space. As for everything that happened in time and space now, the time and space ancestor also had a sense of it, but he didn't take it too seriously. Even if they were angry, what could they do? Can they also step into the long river of time and space and fight him? The time and space ancestor believed that in the entire prehistoric world, no one would be able to surpass him, the controller of the rules of time and space, in the understanding of the way of time and space. Although he gradually felt a little tired when he went against the long river of time and space, the waves that were getting bigger and bigger were already requiring him to spend more and more strength. However, the time and space ancestor could also feel that he could go to a more ancient past. There, he will gain more powerful strength, and even make his realm reach a higher level, and truly reach a higher level. Step by step, across endless time and years, gradually, in the long river of time and space, there are fewer and fewer people in the realm of true immortals. At the end, the image in the long river of time and space showed a majestic mountain, and a congenital sacred with a human body and a snake tail was gathering endless spiritual energy from heaven and earth to create one human after another. If I kill Nuwa, then in the future, will there be no more human race, no more human true immortals, and no more people competing with us congenital sacreds and demons for the power of heaven and earth. The ancestor of time and space stopped and looked at Nuwa, who was creating people below, showing a thoughtful look. Immediately, the blade of time and space in the hands of the ancestor of time and space was already strong, slashing at Nuwa in the long river of time and space. Seeing that Nuwa was about to be killed by the ancestor of time and space, many human true immortals who had been watching the long river of time and space could not help but feel anxious. Nuwa is the source of all human beings. If Nuwa is killed, then the human race, human civilization, and human immortals will all become a dream. However, as Nuwa is about to be killed, she has a calm and indifferent look on her face, just quietly watching the space-time ancestor in the long river of time and space. There is no hindrance, just equivalent to the innate sacred and demon gods in the realm of harmony, facing the attack from the higher dimension, the realm of immortals. It is impossible to even touch it. How can we talk about defense and resistance? Nuwa, who was creating humans, had no reaction at all and was cut by the blade of time. In an instant, time flowed, and the overwhelming power of time had already submerged Nuwa's figure, and it seemed that all traces of her existence would be completely wiped out. The corner of the mouth of the ancestor of time and space had already revealed a disdainful smile. Even if you are the world's #1 true immortal, what does it matter? Facing my attack from the long river of time and space, you who are still weak will still be easily killed by me. At this critical moment, Nuwa, who was creating humans in Xuanhuan mountain, suddenly raised her head. The divine light flowed in her eyes, reflecting the long river of time and space, and the ancestor of time and space in the long river of time and space. What's going on? Why do I feel like Nuwa can see the long river of time and space, and the ancestor of time and space? No, not like, that's the fact, that Nuwa can see the ancestor of time and space. Not only the people who have been watching the long river of time and space, but also the ancestor of time and space in the long river of time and space, have also discovered that Nuwa is wrong. However, the ancestor of time and space does not take it to heart. What if you find it? The ancestor of time and space does not think that Nuwa in this time and space has any chance of turning the tables. After all, when he killed the real immortal before, he could already see some clues. Killing these real immortals in the past was really easy and comfortable. The journey of creation from fantasy to reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 197. The current Nuwa is not the later human virgin mother Nuwa, the first true immortal and powerful person in the prehistoric world. Read. She is still just an ordinary top innate saint, and she is still in charge of the rules of creation that are not good at fighting. The ancestor of time and space sneered, waiting for Nuwa to be completely wiped out in the next moment. However, when the next moment came, a terrifying aura rose from the body of Nuwa, who created humans, and the rules of creation at the level of true immortals penetrated the past and present in an instant. And in the time and space where it is located, it rapidly spreads, until it completely stretches across the prehistoric world of its time and space. As a result, Nuwa, who had not yet succeeded in creating a human being, became a true immortal in a short period of time. This is impossible. The scene that happened in the long river of time and space shocked everyone and was dumbfounded. They were a little confused. Could it be that Nuwa's mastery of the way of time and space far surpassed that of the ancestors of time and space? Even Nuwa in the past has mastered it at the same time. Now Nuwa has the same power and the same true immortal rules. At this moment, it was not just Nuwa who was making a human out of soil on Xuanhuan mountain. Even in the long river of time and space, from Nuwa at the time of creation to the current time and space, all the figures of Nuwa in other time and space have the same power as the current Nuwa. The creation rules of the true immortal realm spread rapidly in their respective time and space, so that the Nuwa in these time and space also possess the power and realm of the true immortal. And without stopping at all, these creation rules at the level of true immortals, as well as Nuwa in these time and space, did not attack the time and space ancestor first. Instead, the powerful power of Nuwa, carrying all time and space, spread rapidly towards the older time and space. Everything that happened in this short period of time was really dizzying for everyone to see, and they could only watch blankly. The rules of creation that spread rapidly in the long river of time and space, and the almost endless figures of Nuwa exuding the aura of the true immortal realm. After being stunned for a moment, the ancestor of time and space immediately reacted. Looking at the rules of creation that had extended far and far away, he immediately mobilized the power in his body and quickly went up the river of time and space. He wanted to kill Nuwa when she was still weak before she spread across all time and space. After all, when he wanted to kill Nuwa when she created humans, and completely wiped her out, he was already fighting to the death. Although now, he doesn't know what Nuwa wants to do. However, there is always nothing wrong with killing it completely before its complete and successful completion. As for these, the ancestor of time and space is no longer able to kill Nuwa, who has been promoted to the true immortal realm in time and space, but he should still be able to do it when she was weak. And now, they have to fight for time with each other. It depends on who reaches Nuwa's time and space when she is still weak. After all, he was promoted to the realm of true immortals through the way of time and space. The speed of the ancestor of time and space in the long river of time and space is still much faster than that of Nuwa. Gradually, the ancestors of time and space caught up and even began to surpass them. At this time, the scene displayed in the long river of time and space was already on the eve of the creation of the world by many innate gods and demons. You can see the web of rules covering most of the ancient world, intercepting the endless evil thoughts falling from the infinite higher dimensions. However, looking at the web of rules woven by the rules of nature at the core of the humane law network, and Nuwa who was in it, the ancestor of time and space did not take action immediately. Because, the rules of creation at the true immortal level are only half a step slower and are spreading rapidly. The ancestor of time and space cannot guarantee that when he arrives here, he will instantly wipe out the Nuwa of this time and space. The situation when he killed the human Nuwa before is still vivid in his mind. Therefore, the ancestor of time and space did not stop and continued to move up the long river of time and space quickly. He wanted to kill Nuwa directly at the source and wipe out all traces of her existence. Step by step, the figure flashes rapidly, flowing against the ancient river of time and space. Finally, the ancestor of time and space arrived, the beginning of all innate gods and demons. Huge ferocious beasts are fighting across the ancient land, huge eggs stand tall, and the rules are flowing, highlighting their extraordinary features. Seeing the rules of creation spreading rapidly behind him, the ancestor of time and space no longer hesitated and took another step forward. As time passed, it was already the moment when those giant eggs were first formed. The body fell instantly, submerged into the long river of time, and fell into a giant egg that contained the charm of time. In an instant, in the long river of time and space, all the figures of the time and space ancestors turned into dreamy bubbles and disappeared. But in the ancient past, the giant egg containing the charm of time was shattered in an instant, revealing the figure of the ancestor of time and space, with an illusory figure. After it appeared, in the long river of time and space that spanned the past and the future, the illusory and uncertain figures of the time and space ancestors appeared again. Even in the current time and space, the illusory and ethereal figure of the time and space ancestor appeared in front of everyone again. Kill. Without the slightest hesitation, several human true immortals launched their most ferocious attacks. Countless lights bloomed and condensed, turning into a giant sword that slashed straight at the time and space ancestor. Swish. Without a pause, the giant sword had already slashed through the time and space ancestor's body. However, such a fierce attack did not cause any hindrance to it, as if it was just attacking a wisp of illusion. Ha ha ha. My original body lives forever in the past time and space, how can you hurt me? Ahahaha. After saying this, the time and space ancestor immediately burst into a wild laugh, not taking everyone into consideration at all. And now he does have the qualifications. As long as no one passes through the long river of time and space and touches his original body, it will never be possible to harm him. Thinking of this, the human race immortals who just launched the attack all looked extremely ugly. After laughing for a while, the time and space ancestor looked at these human immortals, and his expression gradually became cold. Have you forgotten that I can kill you when you were weak? And now it's even easier. When he said this, the illusory figure of the space-time ancestor in a certain period of time and space in the long river of time and space suddenly burst out with a terrifying might, and the aura of the true immortal realm was undoubtedly revealed. An unparalleled attack was already slashed at an ordinary mortal. When seeing this, the face of one of the true immortals who launched the attack immediately became even uglier, and at the same time, he showed a touch of despair. Just because, that ordinary mortal was him before he practiced. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 198. In fact, not only that true immortal changed color, but also the other true immortals who launched the attack also had extremely ugly faces and despair. It was because, not only the time and space ancestor in that time and space, but also the time and space ancestors in several other time and space were blooming their power and killing one or several mortals. That was also when those true immortals had not yet cultivated. And just when those true immortals were desperate, others also showed pity and grief. In those time and space, the breath of the true immortal realm bloomed again, and the meaning of creation that created all living things and spirits could be clearly felt by everyone even across the endless time and space. In an instant, those true immortals who were already desperate all showed a hint of hope, and others also stared intently. Nuwa, you are just in charge of the rules of creation, how can you compete with me? Today I will let you see what time is supreme. There was no response, but the Nuwa in time and space gently closed her crystal jade hands, and a thunder ball emitting the breath of creation emerged. As Nuwa thought, the thunder ball of creation appeared beside the ancestor of time and space in an instant. The ancestor of time and space did not take the thunder ball that appeared in front of him seriously, but just waved his hand lightly, and his figure became virtual and entered the past time and space. However, boom! Accompanied by a violent roar, the thunder ball of creation exploded in an instant. And the power it bloomed was not the power of creation as everyone imagined, but a terrifying and extremely destructive force, which destroyed everything around it in an instant. Including the material energy, rules, space, and time between heaven and earth. And without the concept of time, where is the past, future, and present time and space? The space-time ancestor who escaped into the past did not even have time to return to the present time and space of that time and space. As the concept of time was erased, his existence was also erased. If the space-time ancestor had not merged into time and space and escaped into the past, he might have been able to rely on his own strength to resist the invasion of the destructive force. When he escaped into the past and merged into time and space, when facing the destructive force that could erase the concept of time, he had no power to fight back and was easily wiped out of his existence. After the space-time ancestor in this time and space was wiped out by Nuwa's creation thunder ball. Seeing the explosion of the creation thunder ball, whether it was the space-time ancestor who faced the destructive force or the people watching in the present time and space, they would no longer be confused by the appearance of the creation thunder ball. Is that the creation thunder ball? It is more like a destructive thunder ball. Is the ultimate of creation the ultimate destruction? A congenital demon god exuding a destructive aura showed a thoughtful look. The ultimate of creation is destruction, so what about the ultimate of destruction? Is it creation? Or except for the space-time ancestor who was instantly wiped out by Nuwa in that space-time. In other spacetimes, the space-time ancestors who were originally facing Nuwa's creation thunderball and did not care at all changed their faces and avoided it far away in a flash. Humph. My creation rules are across the world, where can you hide? With a delicate snort, Nuwa's mind turned, and the creation thunderball also flashed, and it appeared directly beside the space-time ancestor. Boom! Another space-time ancestor was directly wiped out by the terrifying destructive force. The next moment, the figure of the space-time ancestor in the remaining space-time was directly disillusioned, and completely disappeared in those space-time fragments. In the other two spacetimes, the figure of the space-time ancestor that was erased slowly emerged again, staring at Nuwa. This time, the space-time ancestor did not take action again. With the existence of Nuwa, he would never be able to achieve his goal. As expected of the first existence to achieve the true immortal, he actually reversed the fate into destruction, and even compared to that destruction, it is not inferior. Humph. Feeling the strange gaze that spanned space-time, the face of the Lord of Destruction turned black and snorted coldly. Nuwa did not react much to the weird words of the space-time ancestor, but the rules of fate that spread to the space-time where she was born became faster and faster. At this time, the space-time ancestor chuckled, and in a flash, he had already arrived in front of a giant egg surrounded by the rules of fate. The blade of time and space in his hand was raised, and the surging power in his body surged out and continuously sank into the blade of time and space. As if sensing the fatal crisis from the outside world, the giant egg began to jump violently, and the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged into it, as if it wanted to be born in advance. And the rules of creation that were spreading in the long river of time and space were also spreading faster, and they were about to reach the time and space where the ancestor of time and space was. Swish! Ka ka ka! The blade of time and space fell, and dense cracks began to appear on the giant egg surrounded by the rules of creation, and the power of time and space splashed from it. In the eyes of the ancestor of time and space, the power of time and space flowed, looking into the long river of time and space. The rules of creation that were originally spreading rapidly began to flicker at this time. The corner of the mouth of the space-time ancestor slightly curled up, and a faint smile began to emerge. And at this moment, a faint and insignificant rule of creation began to flicker in front of him, as if it was resonating with something. And that rule of creation, although it seemed to be faint, it could even be said to be like dust. However, it has extremely tenacious vitality and has never been completely extinguished. Moreover, there is a force in the dark that blesses that rule of creation, so that it will not be completely annihilated, and it is constantly growing. And this power comes from Nuwa's saintly status. Saints exist with the heaven and earth, and rest with the world. If the world is not destroyed, saints are immortal. It can only be said that the space-time ancestor found Nuwa, and he really found the wrong person. After feeling the fluctuation of that rule of creation, the space-time ancestor's expression changed drastically, and he lowered his head suddenly and looked at the broken giant egg. At the center of the broken giant egg, there was a core of the rules of creation, flickering constantly. Without any hesitation, the blade of time and space in the hands of the ancestor of time and space was quickly raised, wanting to cut off the time of the rules of creation and erase all traces of its existence. Unfortunately, buzz. Accompanied by a buzzing sound, the entire space and time seemed to stagnate for a moment, and a terrifying might rose from the core of the rules of creation and instantly filled the entire world. And the rules of creation that were about to spread to the space and time in the long river of time and space also filled this section of the long river of time and space in an instant. At this moment, the rules of creation belonging to the level of Nuwa Zhenxian completely spread and covered all the space and time where Nuwa had existed. At this moment, all the space and time, including the figure of Nuwa in the current space and time, became illusory and hazy, and dissipated little by little, as if they were about to completely transform into the Tao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 199. At this moment, in all the time and space, there is no figure of Nuwa anymore. Read. Only the rules of creation at the true immortal level run through this period of time and space. No, the rules of creation at this time have faintly surpassed the realm of true immortals and reached a higher level. When the ancestor of time and space saw all this, his face became extremely ugly. He did not think that Nuwa had transformed into a Taoist form and passed away. Obviously, Nuwa has reached a higher realm, and she accomplished all this with the help of his power. Moreover, the two had a huge feud before. In other words, it is the ancestor of time and space who has been trying to kill Nuwa. The ancestor of time and space did not think that after Nuwa advanced to a higher realm, he would let go of himself who kept trying to kill her. However, looking at the rules of creation that span the long river of time and space, the time and space ancestor could only sigh to himself with a gloomy face. Even if Nuwa hasn't completely succeeded in promotion, he can't destroy it now. Now, he can only go to an older time and space. Or, like Nuwa now, she can spread her own rules of time through time and space to complete the sublimation of the rules of time. After a moment of hesitation, the time and space ancestor chose to temporarily go to the more ancient past to avoid Nuwa's pursuit. After all, the ancestor of time and space does not think that he can surpass Nuwa in speed now that he is promoted. Once Nuwa is successfully promoted, one can imagine what will happen if he fails to advance. In this case, he can only go to an older time and space first and ensure his own life safety first. Then seek to apply your own time rules throughout time and space to achieve a higher level and a higher dimension of sublimation. Moreover, will there be greater opportunities to travel to an older era? If we can go to the beginning of the world. So, does he have a chance to become the first divine being in the creation of the world, superior to all living beings in the world, and all innate saints and demons? When thinking about this, the ancestors of time and space have a somewhat uneasy mind that has gone through countless years. Now that the decision has been made, the ancestor of time and space no longer hesitates, but his body disappears, and he once again sets foot on the long river of time and space, going to an older era. And the moment he stepped into the long river of time and space, the rules of creation that span the years of time and space had completely completed their transformation and completely integrated into the prehistoric world. It is integrated with the original creation rules of the prehistoric world and becomes an inherent rule of the prehistoric world itself. From then on, as long as the prehistoric world is immortal, this rule of creation will never be broken. Of course, this rule of creation cannot escape the prehistoric world. At the same time, as the master of this rule, Empress Nuwa has naturally become a truly eternal and immortal existence. Even if it loses the blessing of the holy throne of the prehistoric world, it can still achieve immortality, although it cannot mobilize the power of heaven in the prehistoric world. But it can mobilize the power of creation in the entire prehistoric world, which is not much weaker than possessing the holy throne. And the figure of Nuwa, who had disappeared, began to reappear at this moment, still going through the path she was supposed to go through. However, even when it was not yet born, it looked extremely weak. However, if anyone has an idea for her at this time, then they will see the power that exists beyond the realm of true immortals. The first time Nuwa appeared again, her eyes were already looking upstream in the long river of time and space, to the more ancient era. Humph. Do you really think that only your ancestor of time and space can do it? After Nuwa finished speaking, she also stepped into the long river of time and space, heading upstream towards an even more ancient era. In the past, Nuwa might not have been able to reverse the long river of time and space. But after his realm was broken through, he was able to travel up the long river of time and space relatively easily. In fact, because its realm is deeper and the essence of life is stronger, the place it can finally reach is even higher than that of the ancestor of time and space, but the speed is slightly slower. Speaking of which, Nuwa was able to break through to the realm of true immortality really because of her relationship with the ancestor of time and space. After the ancestor of time and space made a breakthrough in cultivation and set foot on the long river of time and space, others may not feel much. However, Nuwa, who has the status of a saint in the prehistoric world, is originally very suitable for the world of the prehistoric world. Therefore, her feelings are completely different. At that time, Nuwa could already faintly sense herself in the past time and space. And at the moment when the ancestor of time and space, carrying the power of time and space, attacked Nuwa in the past. With the fluctuation of the power of time and space, Nuwa in the past and present finally reached a subtle resonance, which connected the past and present together, thus breaking through the realm of true immortality. Of course, although it was because of the ancestor of time and space that Nuwa achieved a breakthrough. However, Nuwa had no intention of thanking him. She is the holy mother of the human race, the Nuwa Empress. She is not the kind of Madonna who does not distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad, good and evil. Faced with the time and space ancestor who wanted to kill her several times, how could Nuwa let him go so easily? However, although Nuwa can indeed go against the flow of the long river of time and space, she is indeed a little behind the old ancestor of time and space in terms of speed. Not only can she not catch up, but she is also being pulled further and further away. I don't believe that the long river of time and space has no end. Even if I catch up to the time when the world is opened, I will catch up and kill you. Nuwa's face was as cold as frost, and her eyes were cold. She did not show any intention of giving up because she was being pulled further and further away by the old ancestor of time and space. She just kept going against the flow of the long river of time and space. This scene made the innate saints, demon gods, and those true immortals of the human race outside the long river of time and space shudder. Sure enough, women should not be messed with, even female immortals are the same. After all, normally, since it is determined that they cannot catch up with the old ancestor of time and space, most people will temporarily give up. However, Nuwa did not mean to give up at all. Instead, she pursued relentlessly, as if she would not give up until she achieved her goal. While everyone was amazed, their minds were also active. The whole process of Nuwa's promotion was seen by everyone. Then, can they also use this long river of time and space that still appears in the void as a medium to make a leap in their own realm? Just as everyone was thinking and eager to move, a bright axe light had already sunk into the long river of time and space in an instant. Even before everyone could fully react, it had already penetrated the section of the long river of time and space and directly sunk into the giant egg in the ancient time and space. Buzz. The bright light bloomed, and the rules of the avenue of power and the avenue of creation began to spread in all time and space, sublimating little by little, and finally completed the closed loop of this section of time and space. And the figure of Pangu in all time and space also gradually dissipated, and finally merged into the rules of the avenue of power and the avenue of creation. Then, Pangu's figure appeared again, but he had already completed the promotion of realm and the sublimation of rules. Following closely, another series of rules spread towards the long river of time and space. Although not as fast as Pangu, they still achieved the ultimate goal and attained a realm above the true immortal. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 200. There are many successful people who use their own rules of Tao and fruit to penetrate the long river of time and space and form their own closed loop of time and space in order to achieve breakthroughs. Read. However, not everyone succeeds. And the fate of those who don't succeed is obviously not going to be much better. Even those who are minor will be subject to the backlash of the long river of time and space, and will suffer extremely serious trauma. It will take countless years of cultivation before they can slowly recover. And those who are serious are even directly lost in the long river of time and space, and they don't know whether they can transcend the long river of time and space and return to the current time and space again. In fact, there is not much difference between them and death. And this is only the existence of the realm of true immortals. And those who are not in the realm of true immortals, as well as the innate gods and demons, simply transformed into the Tao, completely integrated into the rules they controlled, and dissipated between heaven and earth, without any exception. Such a scene immediately frightened those beings who were not in the realm of true immortals to stop their suicidal behavior. The Lord of Destruction, who had successfully advanced, looked disdainfully at the Taoists, as well as the innate saints and demons. These beings in the true immortal realm seemed to have burned all the transformation paths, and thus achieved the goal of advancing to a higher realm. It seems to be very similar to those who are in harmony with the Tao, but in fact, it is completely different. For those in the realm of true immortals, what they transform is their own way. Even if they burn everything, they can still return from their own way. For them, not only did this not cause any damage, but it also completed the transformation of their own path. However, those beings under the realm of true immortals, whether they are Taoists, innate saints, or demons, what they transformed into the Tao was the inherent rules of the Tao between heaven and earth. Even if they control this rule, they are only the controllers. If they transform, they will be completely integrated into these rules and will never be resurrected. Even if someone wanted to rescue him, there would be no way to do so. Seeing everything that happened in the prehistoric world, UN men couldn't help but sigh. War is really the ladder of progress for all life. This great war in the prehistoric world indeed affected a very wide area, killing and injuring countless lives, causing landslides and rivers to change course throughout the prehistoric world. However, everyone's strength is also improving rapidly. First, the ancestor of time and space touched a higher realm and traveled up the long river of time and space. It's a pity that his final path was wrong. He only wanted to return to the original past and only leave a reflection of time and space in the present time and space, which would make him innately invincible. But he didn't expect that in the end, Nuwa would be fulfilled, allowing her to complete the final leap and achieve a state above that of a true immortal. It also caused many other beings in the realm of true immortals to set foot on the realm of true immortals. On the contrary, the ancestor of time and space who was the first to touch a higher realm is still retrograde in the long river of time and space, and has not completed this transformation. Of course, if the ancestor of time and space is really able to retrograde to the beginning of the creation of the world and occupy the position of the God who created the world, then the achievements he can achieve will surpass everyone else. Only, is it so easy to occupy the position of the God of creation, the creator of the world? Then you must at least surpass the power of all the creatures in the world, including the world itself, before you have any chance. This still requires the creation of the world, and the God of creation tried his best to barely succeed in creating the world. Otherwise, it is basically impossible. Moreover, you must be able to truly reverse the flow of time and space to the very beginning. It's hard to say in other worlds, but in the prehistoric world. At this time, the distance traveled by the ancestor of time and space on the long river of time and space has far exceeded the time when all innate gods and demons were born. The scene displayed by the entire length of time and space is nothing but vast and desolate land, with only the earth, mountains and rivers, stars, sun and moon, without any trace of life. And just when the ancestor of time and space thought that the scene would continue until the beginning of the world, he saw. It seems that from the source of the long river of time and space, the first and oldest primitive place, a brilliant brilliance pours down. In a sudden glance, he seemed to see an ethereal and majestic figure that was extremely majestic, holy, and noble. This majestic and ethereal figure is holding a simple long flag. With just a slight sway, a ray of brilliance overflows and flows down the long river of time and space. In just an instant, the ray of brilliance flowing down the long river of time and space had become overwhelming, occupying the entire endless and wide river of time and space, occupying all his sight. Without the slightest resistance, the ancestor of time and space was overwhelmed by the overwhelming brilliance. In an instant, blood spattered and he fell directly into the long river of time and space. Look at the little bits of blood that are constantly falling into the long river of time and space, and the overwhelming brilliance. Nuwa did not hesitate at all, and her figure instantly became illusory. Following the power flowing along the long river of time and space, and the pulling of the rules of creation, she escaped into the lower reaches of the long river of time and space at an extremely fast speed. However, the brilliant light flowing down from the upper reaches of the long river of time and space seemed to have some kind of restriction. When it was about to reach the time and space where many innate saints and demons were born, it stopped instantly and stopped pouring down. Seeing this scene, not only Nuwa, but also other innate saints and demons who had not yet broken through, breathed a sigh of relief. If the brilliant light directly flooded all the time and space, these innate saints and demons who had not broken through would probably never have a chance to break through again. Fortunately, the light stopped and did not continue to flow down. As for the figure that flashed at the source of the long river of time and space, although everyone changed color slightly, they calmed down instantly and just thought they had never seen it. Such an existence is not something they can touch. Looking at the devastated prehistoric land, the sun, moon, stars, and the creatures that have been reduced by nearly 90%. After this period of time, many human immortals, innate saints, and demons have calmed down. At this time, they couldn't help but fall into silence. Finally, they stopped fighting and had a peaceful discussion. In the end, everyone decided that the prehistoric tribes would be autonomous and not easily enter the land of other tribes unless necessary. Of course, this is not an absolute rule. After all, the prehistoric tribes also need to communicate with each other. It's just that they can't enter on a large scale, and after entering the territory of other tribes, they also need to abide by each other's customs and rules. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 201. In fact, the main thing that the prehistoric races are on guard against is the human race, which cannot enter the territory of other races on a large scale. Reading. As for why the prehistoric races are so on guard against a large number of human races entering their own territory. It is not because the human race is so brutal and does not abide by the rules. The fact is just the opposite. The current human race is far more civilized than other races. However, it is precisely because of this that they are unwilling to allow a large number of human races to enter their territory. After all, advanced civilizations are often more attractive, and human civilization is also a very tolerant civilization. Aren't there many innate gods and demons who have joined the human race? As long as those races recognize the concept of human civilization, the human race will naturally welcome them to join the big family of the human race. However, the patriarchs and senior leaders of those races, including the innate gods and demons who created them, are not willing to do so. If a large number of human races enter the territory of a small tribe, coupled with the attraction of human civilization, then is this place for this race or for the human race? That's a different story. Moreover, in the current prehistoric world, the number of human races is also the largest. In this prehistoric catastrophe, it can be said that most of the wars participated in by the human race were expanding outward. This also led to the fact that although a large number of human races died in these wars, however, in the hinterland of the human race's territory, life is relatively stable, allowing the new generation of human races to grow smoothly. Moreover, the speed of human races' reproduction is not comparable to other races. Those powerful races often need thousands of years to reproduce their offspring. In the human race, it has been unknown how many generations have been rotated. Those races with extremely strong reproductive ability are often extremely weak, and their intelligence is even lower. Often, only 1 in a million can really give birth to intelligence. Moreover, even if there are those who are born with intelligence, it takes a very long time, and they often have low potential and limited growth. The human race is completely different. As long as there is no accident, all human beings born will have intelligence at birth. It only takes a few years or more than 10 years of learning to perfect their own intelligence and have unlimited potential, which is much more than other races. So in summary, the number of human population reproduction is the first in the prehistoric world. In addition, for countless years, the human race has lived a relatively stable life in the heartland, and the top leaders of various countries have strongly encouraged it. This has led to the explosive growth of the human race again and again. By the end of this war, the overall number of the human race, although not exceeding the overall number of other prehistoric races, has almost reached half. If there is really no restriction on the human race, then relying on the huge number of human races and their developed civilization, I really don't know how many races will be quietly annexed. However, the human race actually doesn't care much about this restriction. The vast land of the prehistoric world is boundless, and there is an endless starry sky. Some of them are unowned lands, waiting for the human race to discover and occupy. As for these, the creators of the prehistoric myriad races can only agree. Could it be that those unowned lands are not allowed to be occupied by the human race? If that's the case, wouldn't it be imprisoning the human race? As the undisputed first largest race in the prehistoric world, how could the human race agree to such an unreasonable request? If that's the case, the prehistoric myriad races started the war before, so this time, I'm afraid it's the human race that took the initiative to start the war. If the war continues like this, the human race, which has countless true immortals who jointly compile the network of rules and protect it, may still be the same as before. There are constant wars in the front, and stable development in the back. Not only will it not slow down the pace of progress, but it will make the development of the human race grow explosively. As for the other prehistoric myriad races, after all, they are not the same race, so how can they work together? Even if the total number of the prehistoric myriad races far exceeds that of the human race, the final result of the war will definitely be that the human race wins. As for why? With such an advantage, the human race doesn't simply unify the prehistoric world. That's because the prehistoric myriad races are naturally nothing, but the creators after the prehistoric myriad races, the many innate sacred beings and demon gods, are the existences that the human race needs to be wary of. If those in the realm of true immortals, or even those who have transcended the realm of true immortals, the many innate sacred beings and demon gods are really forced into a corner, then they will enter the human race's territory and destroy it regardless of everything. Even if there is suppression and protection by the human law network, the human race will suffer heavy losses. In this case, it is better to maintain the status quo. Anyway, no matter what, the human race is already the biggest beneficiary. This is actually very different from the situation on the real blue star. There are nuclear weapons that are enough to destroy mankind countless times, and no major country dares to start a large-scale war. Because such a war has no meaning, it will only lead to mutual loss, or even a mutual destruction. What's more, all human beings on the entire blue planet will be completely exterminated. In the prehistoric world, the countless beings that transcend the realm of true immortals are equivalent to the nuclear weapons of the blue star world, a deterrent weapon that is superior to all races. If the races they created are really exterminated and they go crazy, the damage caused is absolutely unimaginable. Not to mention other things, any existence above the realm of true immortals can quietly sneak into the heartland of the human race and directly self-destruct. That is not the power of a nuclear bomb explosion. The damage caused is calculated in light years. Even some dimensional worlds of the human race will be completely destroyed by it. Although for the innate sacredness and true immortals of the human race today, opening up a dimensional world is nothing. But the creatures bred in it, including many humans who migrated into the dimensional world, will never be resurrected. After reaching a unified truce agreement, the prehistoric world once again fell into a relatively peaceful atmosphere. Naturally, this must be a relatively peaceful atmosphere after experiencing this war that affected the entire prehistoric world and all races. It is definitely impossible for the prehistoric world to return to the peaceful and harmonious atmosphere before the birth of many races. After resurrecting the true immortal who was killed by the time and space ancestor, a group of human race strongmen returned to Xuanhuan Mountain again. As for how to resurrect the true immortal, it is actually very easy in front of many beings who have transcended the true immortal realm. As long as he resisted the attack of the time and space ancestor during the time and space when he was killed, he would naturally follow his normal development trajectory and would definitely prove the true immortal in the current time and space. Seeing that the prehistoric world finally returned to a relatively peaceful atmosphere, Yuan Meng also breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that those strong men would fight completely without scruples. He was not afraid that they would destroy the prehistoric world. With the current strength of the prehistoric world, and the suppression of the three paths of heaven, earth, and man, it is definitely not something they can destroy easily. What Yuan Meng fears is that a large number of strong men will die, which will eventually lead to the withering of prehistoric strong men and the severance of the path of cultivation. Just as described in those novels, the prehistoric world gradually declined in the midst of great disasters, and finally after countless disasters, it completely collapsed and returned to chaos. That is not what Yuan Meng does not want to see. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 202. Fortunately, things did not develop to the point described in those ancient novels. Read. These strong men in the prehistoric world were relatively restrained and did not engage in endless wars. Well, this actually has a huge part of the reason, which is because of the fleeting figure of the Heavenly Lord at the source of the long river of time and space. Compared to the Heavenly Lord who stands at the source of the long river of time and space, overlooking the entire prehistoric world, what kind of true immortals are they, and what existences transcend the true immortals? What do they count? How significant can the battles they started be? If you have that time, you might as well immerse yourself in cultivation. Not to mention surpassing the Heavenly Lord who stands at the source of the long river of time and space, you must be able to look directly at him. The brilliance that filled the long river of time and space gave Nuwa, Pangu, and others the feeling that as long as they could surpass it, the current state of Dao transformation would be enough to compete with it. Well, everyone calls the realm of transcending the true immortal the realm of Taoism. Use everything you own to turn it into your own avenue, traverse the long river of time and space, and spread to the 6 and 8 wastelands of the prehistoric world, and the endless dimensions of time and space. Make your own avenue completely integrated into the prehistoric world and become an inherent avenue of the prehistoric world. If Tao exists, it will be immortal and immortal. As for the subsequent realm, after having the brilliance poured out by Tianzun as a reference for comparison, everyone has already vaguely speculated. That is to continuously strengthen one's own Dao to reach a limit. The sky cannot bury them, and the earth cannot destroy them. Even if they are the sky of one world, they still need to be given a certain amount of respect. This realm can be called Tianzun. In the next period of time, the powerful people in the Dao transformation realm of the prehistoric world began to continuously understand various different rules and use them to perfect and strengthen their own Dao. Tianzun. If you use the name of this heavenly Lord, I won't let you care about it. Just, behind closed doors. How can that be done? How long will it take to reach the state where it cannot be buried by the sky or destroyed by the earth? I should still give you some help. Yuan Meng touched his chin with a playful expression. These guys, only in the prehistoric world, have almost reached a limit, and they want to rely on hard work to progress and reach the so-called realm of heaven. The time it takes will be a desperate figure. That being the case, Yuan Meng scanned the blue star, the statues of gods, the figures worshipping devoutly, and everywhere, the space was slightly distorted, as if trying to connect to other places, and an idea gradually emerged in his mind. But before that, we still need to make some preparations and deal with some problems. For example, promotion in the prehistoric world. In fact, after a group of great masters from ancient times have advanced to the realm of true immortals, and the rules of Tao and fruit have spread across the ancient world. After the promotion, the prehistoric world has reached a relatively complete state, and it only needs an opportunity to advance the prehistoric world again. But this time, many true immortals have advanced to the realm of transformation, which is an opportunity to break the upper limit of the world. Those countless transformed rules were even enough to support the prehistoric world. After this promotion, they have reached an extremely high level. And this time, the promotion of the prehistoric world is not as violent as before, but slowly improves and strengthens in a gentle and silent way. The prehistoric world has not shrunk again, and naturally it has not expanded. Yuan Meng, or the prehistoric world, the analysis of energy rules has not yet reached the point of deriving energy out of thin air, and can only absorb energy from the outside world for the time being. There is naturally a limit to absorbing energy from the outside world, and it is naturally impossible for the prehistoric world to expand significantly in a short period of time. However, because this time the transformation of the prehistoric world happens slowly and in a subtle way. This makes the energy absorbed by the prehistoric world enough to support the advancement and transformation of the prehistoric world. Well, one more thing that must be said is that, although the analysis and deduction of energy rules in the prehistoric world is not enough to derive energy out of thin air. However, that does not mean that the prehistoric world cannot generate energy by itself. The source of energy in the prehistoric world is the endless creatures that thrive in the prehistoric world. To be more precise, it is the spiritual power of the endless creatures. The fragments of spiritual will emitted by these endless creatures, as well as the soul power dissipated after their death, will be transformed into pure energy by the prehistoric world, and then condensed into new spiritual energy of heaven and earth. When feeling this, Yuan Meng couldn't help but sigh, really, how big the heart is, how big the power is. The power of the soul is truly unlimited. Although life requires the materials that make up the body and energy to maintain it, even their thinking activities require energy. However, Yuan Meng discovered that the spiritual power emitted by the creatures was several times, even dozens or hundreds of times, the energy they consumed. Therefore, Yuan Meng invested a lot of computing power in the energy rules. The rules of the mind are also a rule that he is currently vigorously analyzing. Maybe the rules of the mind are the opportunity for the prehistoric world to create something from scratch and generate energy out of thin air. And although the promotion of the prehistoric world this time is a slow improvement and transformation. However, the time ratio between the prehistoric world and the blue star is very different. The blue star world is only 1 day and night, but the prehistoric world has passed billions of years. After the world shook slightly, it was completely completed. This time, the upgrade and transformation. Not only the essence of the prehistoric world, but also the various rules of the Great Way, have been greatly enhanced. Even the creatures in the prehistoric world, including those innate sacred, demon gods, people who have achieved the Dao, and even stronger true immortals and Dao masters, have also been greatly enhanced under the subtle influence. After all, they are also part of the prehistoric world. It's just that this kind of enhancement is carried out in a subtle form. Not to mention ordinary creatures, even those ordinary Dao masters basically don't notice it. Only Nuwa, as a saint, is more in line with the heaven and earth, so she has a little sense of it. 100 million times. After the prehistoric world was upgraded, Yuan Meng couldn't help but whisper. What Yuan Meng said was the normal ratio of time between the prehistoric world and the Blue Star world. 1 year in the Blue Star world is equivalent to 100 million years in the primordial world. Although it sounds like the ratio between the two is extremely huge. But in fact, the gap between them has narrowed a lot. Let alone when the primordial world was just born, it was really a thought of 10,000 years. Often, it was just the time for Yuan Meng to think about a problem, and hundreds of millions of years had passed in the primordial world. Even before the primordial world was promoted, this time, 1 day and night on the Blue Star was equivalent to tens of thousands of years in the primordial world. The Journey of Creation from Fantasy to Reality. Author, Get a Spark. Chapter 203. After the promotion to the prehistoric world was completed, Yuan Meng began to resonate with some of the rules of the prehistoric world and the rules of the Blue Star world that he controlled. Read. Moreover, Yuan Meng also made certain adjustments and transformations to the time and space rules of the prehistoric world. After doing this, Yuan Meng Fang exhaled a breath and turned his attention back to himself. After this transformation, Yuan Meng's body was greatly strengthened, his blood boiled all over his body, and even the surrounding space was slightly distorted. This was the reason why Yuan Meng's powerful qi and blood distorted the surrounding space, and this was caused by some of the qi and blood energy he unintentionally emitted. It is really unimaginable what level it would reach if Yuan Meng deliberately exploded his power. Thinking about breaking the space and teleporting across space, it shouldn't be a big problem. After completely condensing his energy and blood, causing the distorted space around him to return to normal, Yuan Meng felt speechless and sighed once again when he felt inside his body. Just because Yuan Meng's body is now extremely powerful, and he can destroy mountains with just the power of his physical body. However, except for the power of qi and blood, which is closely related to the strength of the body, the other energies in his body are not so satisfactory. After all, the other forces in his body, whether it is the energy of the stars or the energy of the 5 elements, are all related to the energy of chaos in his body. However, the richness of the chaotic energy in his body is connected with the concentration of the chaotic power in the chaotic prehistoric world. But now, except for the vicinity of the prehistoric world, in the entire vast chaos, the power of chaos has become so thin that it is almost non-existent. So how powerful can the chaotic energy connected to Yuan Meng's body be? To be able to have wisps of chaotic energy, as light as haze, floating and wandering in his body, that was the reason why he gathered there deliberately. The star energy and the power of the 5 elements, which operate according to specific rules in the meridians and acupoints in his body, are stronger than the chaos energy, but they are also limited in strength. According to Yuan Meng's estimation, the concentration of chaotic energy in his body is at most equivalent to other people's second level of transcendence, the Yun-Qi realm of nourishing vitality, which has not even reached the state of perfection. Other powers such as star energy and 5-element energy are roughly equivalent to other people's extraordinary 4th level, and can move the energy in the Qi stage of the body. On the contrary, the power of his body's energy and blood, at least, is enough to break through space and set foot in the universe and starry sky after reaching the 9th level of breaking the void realm. But his strongest soul realm is a bit difficult to locate. In the chaotic world, Yuan Meng is the supreme ruler, the transcendent above all tangible and intangible things, and the source of all things. In the real world, he can probably be equivalent to the realm of true immortals. He already has his own Dao fruit, but he has not transformed into Dao and integrated into the real world. Of course, he never planned to do so. Relying on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and the rules of heaven and earth carried by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, it slowly erodes and controls Blue Star. Isn't it better than integrating yourself and your own Dao fruit into Blue Star to enhance Blue Star's power? It can be said that Yuan Meng's current state is really a chaotic one. In terms of Yuan Li alone, he is the weakest among the weak in the land of China. Apart from those children, there are few people weaker than him. The strength of the body's energy and blood surpasses all existences. Not only can it explode stars with one blow, but it can also destroy mountains and move mountains and fill seas. As for the will of the soul and the strength of the soul, they are the level that truly belongs to the realm of immortals and gods. Even compared to the ordinary evil gods and gods in other worlds, they are not inferior to them, or even slightly better. Alas! Yuan Meng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Before he understood and analyzed the energy rules thoroughly, he should not think about having abundant energy. Chaos is so vast that it will almost never be filled. Oops! There's one more thing I forgot. After Yuan Meng came back to his senses, he suddenly slapped the armrest of the recliner as if he remembered something, and exclaimed loudly. Pfft! Wow! Bang! However, before Yuan Meng could take action, the recliner beneath him had already moved because of his unconscious movements. One side was completely smashed into powder, and the rest of it fell apart, and Yuan Meng himself fell to the ground. Lying on the completely fallen apart recliner, looking up at the blue sky and white clouds above, Yuan Meng couldn't help but feel speechless. It seems that the place where he lives needs some strengthening. Otherwise, if you don't pay attention one day and the entire villa is demolished, you will really lose your place to live. But that's what happens next. For the time being, he has more important things to do. Yuan Meng didn't even get up, just lying on the crumbling recliner. And his mind sank into the prehistoric world again. He saw that because of the existence of many powerful Taoists, the chaotic thoughts that continued to pour into the prehistoric world began to be gradually intercepted and cleared up. However, there are still many chaotic thoughts that continue to pour into the prehistoric world and continue to affect the minds of the creatures in the prehistoric world. Moreover, the creatures in the prehistoric world are constantly emitting fragments of messy mental thoughts. And because most of the powerful people in the prehistoric world are busy cleaning up the reason for the evil thoughts falling from the sky. Instead, no one pays attention to and cleans up the fragments of messy mental thoughts emitted by the native creatures in the wild. As a result, the prehistoric world began to gradually become filled with these fragments of chaotic thoughts. Although, the distracting thoughts emitted by the native creatures in the primitive world are not as good as the distracting thoughts coming from Blue Star. But if this goes on for a long time and no one cleans it up, then, it will still gradually erode the minds of ancient creatures, making them irritable, which may not lead to another disaster. Yuan Meng's mind came to the ancient world this time to solve this problem. Of course, Yuan Meng did not solve the distracting thoughts of the native creatures in the primitive world. That was the obligation and responsibility of the primitive creatures themselves. How to develop and where to go. That all needs to be decided by the primitive creatures themselves. What Yuan Meng wants to do is. Yuan Meng, whose mind and will had manifested himself outside the prehistoric world, stretched out his hand and made a slight move. The endless distracting thoughts falling from the blue star had been intercepted and gathered by him, gathered in the palm of his hand, and turned into a colorful light clusters. After Yuan Meng intercepted the endless distracting thoughts coming from the falling blue star, those Taoist and true immortal beings in the prehistoric world who were busy intercepting the falling demonic thoughts suddenly felt lighter. They could clearly feel that the falling invisible demonic thoughts had returned to their usual size, and were even a little thinner. They no longer needed to expend efforts to intercept and purify them.